What's up, YouTube? This is LA Prepper here with a quick, probably not quick, not quick video about some current event stuff. Yeah, mostly current event stuff going on. In fact, yeah, since these I only have two items here that are not current event stuff. So, hope you all are doing well. My room is, probably can't tell, but my room is not quite put back together yet. They've been doing construction work on the wall. Because this damn AC was leaking water. So, anyways. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about some not first world problem, but more like, well, maybe some first world problems, but mostly second and third world. I guess, yeah, first, second, and third world problems today. I'll just leave it at that. Number one, mudslides. Yeah, California has had some bad mudslides, probably over 20 dead. That was the last number that I saw, but it went from like 7 to 13 to 20, so scary stuff. I don't know if all the mudslides or majority of them were in areas that were affected by the rains previously, the forest fires. Typically, forest fires will burn a lot of the foliage, and then you don't have as much. Now, granted, like right after it burns, maybe not as big of a deal, but the roots and such hold everything together. So after a few months, when all the roots start dying, then I don't know if right after a burn though, if you're losing that much strength, but at least the plants are absorbing some water if they're alive. So at any rate, I think it's predominantly because the plants die and they hold the soil together. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's because the plants are absorbing that much water through biochemistry and such. But anyways, yeah, mudslides are serious stuff. They're really fast. They're somewhat unpredictable in the sense that, if you have a really large area that's been burned really badly and you're about to get a lot of rain, you might have an entire region that's like high mudslide risk, but you don't know if it's your backyard or your neighbor's backyard. Even if you had like core samples all up and down your hill and stuff like that, that would help somewhat, but it would help a little bit, but that's just a really tough thing to deal with. What if you have a ranch house? It'd be nice to say like, oh, board up your windows or doors and sleep on the second floor or stuff like that, but I mean, it's really hard to prepare for something like mudslides. I'm sure there are ways you could do it. I don't know if it's something that people do commonly, but and they're not, I mean, they're common, but they don't happen like as often as a car accident. So even though it's a risk, and the news came out with warnings about it, but like I said, it's a very difficult thing to take action on. I mean, the safest thing would probably be just to evacuate your area temporarily, to be honest. I don't think a full evacuation like that is something a lot of people are going to be desire to do, but did the government want to force people to evacuate for mudslide risk, although presumably they could have. Would it have saved some lives? Possibly. So, what are the lessons to be learned in regards to prepping? Look, mudslides are difficult to deal with. I mean, you can't just engineer around it. Theoretically, you could build a stronger house, but I mean, if you have any sort of window on the first floor, it's probably not going to stop a mudslide. So, I mean, that's just kind of freak nature accident that you could take. Buying land that's flat instead of on a hill, yeah, I suppose, but if you already own the property, what are you going to do? Call a licensed contractor, I guess. Call a mudslide expert. I'm sure they're out there. Number two, fake nuclear attack warning in Hawaii. Wow, this has been getting some big news. Craziness. My friend's in Hawaii. I was going to say it's funny. It's not really funny, but, I had a friend in Ventura when the fires were going on. I got a friend in Hawaii and this fake nuke warning. Got a friend in Scotland, too. I hope nothing crazy is going on in Scotland right now. But, yeah, people were really freaked out, and with good reason, and of course, with any, I don't want to say any event, with an event of this nature relating to collapse, end of the world, nuclear war, you get a lot of conspiratorial comments, and some people think this was either, like a test to gauge how people responded. I don't know, but if it was a test, it certainly was a really effective test. That's for sure. But so it's hard to take a lesson away from a fake nuclear warning, other than the fact that the government does make mistakes. Does it mean you should, jump into nuclear fallout prepping? Well, potentially. If you're in an area that could be affected by that, there's a lot of things you could potentially prep for. I don't know if you can prep for everything. Unfortunately, nuclear attack is something that a lot of people, based on modern technology, could potentially be concerned with, and not just a foreign country launching one, but I mean the amount of containers, for example, that come into this country unchecked. It's really not difficult to smuggle stuff into this country. I never have personally, but yeah, so it could be, even if you're like, well, I'm so many miles away from X country's maximum range, somebody brings one in on a truck, you're kind of done for. So my personal nuclear prepping level is very low right now. I have some masks and gloves and maybe tape. I don't have like a suit. I don't have enough plastic to tape up my windows. In fact, plastic is not super expensive. I don't have that many windows either, or doors. I have one door, three outside facing windows. This double pane one is actually fairly airtight. The bathroom one's actually fairly airtight too. I would be worried about the living room one, and the living front door is obviously garbage. But so maybe two things of plastic from the dollar store, and I could significantly improve my nuclear prepping. I should do a video about that. Anyways, yeah, get your nuclear prepping in order. A bunch of people have some good videos on that. I know that some of my subs have asked me about doing videos on like EMP hardening. I need to link to a few good videos. I was watching some videos on it. There's a lot of different science involved, for lack of a better term. Frequencies and how the nuke is detonated, and it's just something I'm a little reticent to do like a quick 10-minute summary on. I don't think that's fair to the topic. I don't think it's fair to YouTubers that have put some pretty good energy into putting videos together. So maybe I'll try to find a few good videos and link to them and do something like that. Be a good chance to give some YouTubers a few shout outs. So I haven't forgotten about that request to get some EMP info out there. I'm just kind of doing a little bit of research. So, Venezuela. Man, I've been talking about Venezuela for a few weeks now, maybe even a few months. And I wasn't sure what specifically I was going to talk about, so I just Googled Venezuela, of course. And what kind of articles did I find? What kind of headlines did I find? Well, waves of looting. That was a fun headline. money doesn't work anymore. That was a fun headline. I looked into the money doesn't work article anymore. Guys talking about finding $20 bills, bolivars, it's the currency I think, in the trash. Right? Crazy. Apparently they're worth about, I don't know, a thousandth of a penny or something, so 1,000 of them equals a penny. But, the article's talking about inflation, all this stuff, and what the rate is, and they're saying prices are doubling every 34 days. It's every month. And, at that rate, doubling is a lot, first of all. When things double, and, you know, if it was linear, it would keep doubling every 34 days. It's probably exponential, so it's going to start doubling in less than 34 days. But let's just say everything you bought doubled in price once a month. Just think about that. Gallon of milk, let's say $4. Like $3.50, but let's say $4, $8, $16, $32, $64. I mean, meat, $5 a pound, $10 a pound, $20 a pound, $40 a pound. So let's see. So 5, let's go 10, 20, 40, 80, 160. In 5, we'll go 320. So in half a year, 1 pound of meat goes from $5 to $320. If everything you bought, everything that existed in your life went up in price like that, it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank. You could have $1 million. You could have $10 million. Okay, granted, if you had $50 million or $100 million, maybe. But people that have $100 million, probably, if they were living in Venezuela, people with a lot of money probably got out because they knew the getting was good. But even if you had a bank that had $100 million in the bank, you couldn't, trying to use the currency that you have is just kind of, they were weighing money weeks ago. They were putting money on a scale, and weighing it. So, collapse of society is no good. Hyperinflation is a bitch. Not to use a male chauvinist term, but hyperinflation is really bad. Hyperinflation is really bad. This next story, I'm pretty sure, was from Argentina. God, and I gotta check real quick because I can't get this story wrong. We're going mobile, YouTube. Can you handle this? Can you handle going mobile? All right. Argentines killing beef. I guess you don't kill beef, you kill cattle. Oh, it was Venezuelans. See, it makes more sense because the Venezuelans, I think, are hungrier than the Argentinians right now. But anyways, these Venezuelans stoned these cattle to death because they were starving. Now, I'm not going to judge people trying to survive. You might stone a cattle to death if you were starving too. I might too, so. But at any rate, just can you imagine if you were driving up I-5 in California? Well, maybe you can't imagine that, but driving up your local freeway and you just saw people on the side of the road attacking cattle at some farm. It would freak you out a little bit. Not because in and of itself it's such a big deal, but just the idea that that's how bad it is. Yeah, crazy stuff. And unfortunately it's only going to get worse before it gets better. We could try to send money down there, we could try to meet with the leaders and tell them to change their economic policy and all this stuff, but it's one of those things that until Maduro gets overthrown, and frankly, people are kind of too hungry to protest almost. It's hard to protest on an empty stomach forever. Not to be morose or anything, but it's true. All right, next topic. Carillion or Carillon. I don't think the double L is Spanish. Probably Carillion. Anyways, this is British company that's closing, and it's this really really big company. And I just thought it was interesting because a lot of preppers are concerned, or maybe some preppers are concerned about economic collapse. And you know, look up the company Carillion. Maybe I'll put a link in the video. Huge company. The bank decided to stop lending them money, or venture capitalist or somebody. Anyways, they were in debt. They were having problems paying their bills. Company was having problems with profits, whatnot. I didn't read too much into it, but this is what happens when money starts tightening up a little bit. I mean, up until recently, and I would say even still recently, the majority of banks, last several years, have been pretty loose with lending every other bank money. Interest rates between banks are really low. They're they're trying to lend out as much money as possible. Credit card offers, mortgages, you name it. So typically, even if a company was doing like kind of a little bit rough, there'd probably still be some bank to lend money to it. So the fact that no bank will lend money to this company, it's not just like one bank or two banks, but like the banking community as a whole said, no, you need to liquidate. You're done. We're not supporting this failing endeavor. And not only that, all the other people they owed money to, they're all shit up, up shit creek without a paddle. And then, is this one company going to cause not a butterfly effect, but a waterfall and cause all these other things to happen? I don't know about that. I think symbolically more than like numerically. So I think more as a symbol that that it's okay to not lend money to a failing institution, more than somehow everything being so tied to this one company. So I just kind of mention that because it's interesting to keep an eye on things. Anytime I read articles about Sears closing stores or Kmart closing stores, I'm actually going to talk about some department stuff coming up here. I always find it interesting, where the power is shifting to. Speaking of power, Walmart and Kroger are going forward with more automation in their stores. And from what I read in the article, and if you don't know, Walmart is, most of you probably know Walmart's like a general department store in America. They sell basically everything, kind of like Fred Meyer's. Kroger is more of a grocery chain. They own several grocery brands, like Albertsons, I think. But anyways, so not just some automation, but I believe from what I read, and maybe it's not all the same program, but at least one or both of these companies was talking about doing stores with no clerks, no checkout clerks. They might have employees, but no checkout clerks. And I think one of the things Walmart was looking at was having customers purchase things on their phone as they're shopping. So not at the end, but just scan it, put in the cart, scan it, put in the cart. Kroger, I believe, was doing a self-checkout method. So what does this mean for you? What does this mean for me? Are all checkout jobs going to go the way of the, horse-drawn carriage? No, probably not. But, we're seeing this gradual trend and we have over the last several decades, but especially the last few years, it's just gotten crazy with people buying their own stuff, putting together their own furniture, getting things shipped to their house. They're not going shopping, checking out their own stuff, bagging their own stuff. Another great example, Aldi recently is pushing out into the West. They have a thing where, you return your own cart for the quarter. You like rent a cart, kind of like the airport used to be, or I think still is, except it's more than a quarter these days. But so we're seeing this trend in people being more willing to just not deal with the checkout person. It's not really the biggest deal. People use ATMs without it being a big deal. People are depositing checks on their phones. Certainly happy to do that instead of go to the branch. So I don't think it's like kind of like with the cow thing. This story isn't that interesting just because it's a little bit of automation, but I think it's interesting in the grand scheme of an ever increasing amount of automation. Once you see Walmart exploring customers scanning stuff on their phones and they realize how much faster it is and how much less congestion you have at the front of the store, then you're going to see Target doing it. You're going to see, other stores doing it. So then you have this whole new wave of, customers scanning crap on their phone. And then once you see the grocery stores doing it, they're all going to start doing it more. Once Aldi continues to grow with this whole shopping cart rental thing, you might see Vaughn's or Albertsons or other stores doing the whole shopping cart rental thing where, we all become these, independent contractors where, the grocery store is paying you a quarter to return the cart, right? But, what do I feel about it? How does it relate to prepping? Well, it means that there's going to be less of those jobs. And the more job competition we have, the more wage deflation we have, the more people struggling we have. And the more that people struggle, the more desperate they get. And desperate people do desperate things to survive, like, stoning cattle in a field, for example. It all adds tension. It all adds heat to the pot of boiling water that our country is. Do I think the heat's going to keep going up forever? Well, not necessarily, but the heat is definitely has been rising as of late. So, on to Italy. Do a quick time check here. 22 minutes. I think we can wrap this up in 30 minutes. So, Italy is having financial problems. I want to say their prime minister, prime minister, their leader, shame on me, their leader recently kind of disbanded parliament, I think. Wants to have a new election, just kind of kicked them all out. A little bit of a dictatorial move. Crazy things happen when countries are on the brink, financially or otherwise. So, especially it's interesting looking at Italy in regards to Venezuela that's having economic issues. You could say expect to see major changes in the power structure in Venezuela. And what other country, pop quiz, what other country recently have we seen major power structure changes at the top? I'll give you 5 seconds. If you guess Saudi Arabia, you are correct. Saudi Arabia's one of the young princes made a move up to the top, imprisoned a bunch of people. In fact, recently one of the richer imprisoned Saudi princes refused to pay, I think, $5 billion get out of jail free. You're rich when someone says you need to pay $5 billion to get out of jail and they know you can afford it easily. It's another world. It's a completely different world than I'm living in. But it's okay. I don't know if I'll ever be a billionaire, but that's all right. That's okay. As long as I have a boat and a house and a family, maybe a plane, I think I'll be good. Maybe an underground bunker too. But Italy, yeah. So Italy's going through some power changes. Keep an eye on Italy. That's all I'm going to say about that for now. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the RC glider right now. I'm not going to talk about the windsurf Moran. Haven't been doing much on that. Flu season, last topic. Flu season's been bad. I got it over Christmas. I was awful all during Christmas. It really took a lot of energy to not be a crabby son of a gun. I didn't excel perfectly at it, but I did mostly decently at not being a sick SOB over Christmas, at least emotionally speaking. Got to spend some time with the family, so that was nice. But sickest I had been all year. Whew. And, I felt terrible because, I'm at home for Christmas, worried about getting my family sick. It's just, it's like I'm already there. What am I going to do? Fly home? I guess. But anyways, careful with the flu season. Try to stay healthy. Make sure your nutrition's good. Exercise. A lot of people when it gets cold, they tend to kind of shut in, sit down. Watch TV too much. We're all guilty of this. In California, if it goes below 70 degrees, I have to hunker down for the winter. but but anyways, take care of yourself. Vitamin C. Get your vitamins, get your minerals. Get your physical activity going. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Try to find balance right now. If stuff is stressing you out, try to let it go. Try to just, try to be chill. It helps for your health and, for your life. Drink plenty of water, lots of fluids. Lots of fluids. Your blood is like the highway of your body that carries all the good stuff and it carries all the bad stuff. It just carries everything everywhere. Just like a freeway. A freeway can carry a garbage truck or it can carry a truck full of fruit and vegetables. Same freeway. So your blood is like cars and trucks on the freeway. The more water you drink, you can increase the volume of blood in your system, and you can help your body's chemistry just kind of work itself naturally. You don't always have to do amazing, incredible things like climb mountains to be healthy. Just try to stay hydrated. It's not because the water, just I'm going to drink some water. It's the water's effect on your body. It's not just going through you. It's turning into you. The water's turning into my blood. Isn't that crazy? Anyways. Without getting too ethereal and about molecules and atoms. Thanks for watching, YouTube. Got some stuff coming up. We got hunting coming up. We got school coming up. Gonna be buying some new toys, some new prepping stuff. Still on the fence. I got too many things going on in my head about what I'm looking to pick up. But probably a solar panel, probably a shotgun. Yeah. So like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.